And welcome to another edition of the Top Dog Talk podcast. It is Sunday. This is our normal reaction time. We used to go 8:30, sorry. But we're going a little bit early, 7:30. I know that Georgia played on Friday, so you've had an opportunity to probably hear other people talk about the game. But this is our opportunity to talk about clean old-fashioned hate or just hate week, however you want to put it. My co-host, Kobe Pierce. Kobe, I know you had a busy week, my friend. You missed the weekday show, which I know you probably really wanted to be on because I know you hate Georgia Tech as much as anybody. How was your week? How was your Thanksgiving and overall impressions of the game?
Yeah, what's up, Dan? It was good. It was a great week of Thanksgiving. Spent some time with the in-laws, time hunting a little bit, just relaxing, kind of mental reset, and all that. So it was great. A lot of good football on this week. I love rivalry week. A lot of good games. The old adage, like you throw the records out the window, you throw past performances out the window. Like these teams that play this week, they hate each other and they want to beat each other bad. I mean, we always talk about being somebody's Super Bowl. For most teams, they played their Super Bowl this week. I don't care how the year's gone. If you win this week, it makes the whole year, okay in a fan base's book. So, no different with Georgia Tech, right? The game was, it was different, right? It was a Friday night in Mercedes-Benz. Shout out to Invesco QQQ for taking a game off of college campuses and playing it in, the Benz. Just an odd. I'm just never going to be a big fan of doing that. I think that part of what makes college football games fun is playing them on college campuses, not playing them in NFL stadiums. So maybe I'm wrong there, but that's just my thought.
No,
and a weird
you're
game.
not wrong.
A weird game, right? Like pretty, I would say, a defensive game on both sides. Like both teams finished with right around 250 total yards. A lot of the stat lines look very similar as far as all of that, but I thought Georgia's defense played hard and played well. I thought Georgia Tech's defense played hard and played well for most of the night. It just wasn't an offensive explosion kind of night, which, pending how last year's game kind of went, the 8 overtimes, scoring was at a premium. I think a lot of people thought that this was going to be one of those games where, it could be 25 to or 28 to 35 or something like that. But I can hear me in the background somewhere on your screen.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry, that's me.
No worries. But so what do you think? I think the biggest problem that I saw is I think that interception rattled Gunner a little early. I think he kind of maybe didn't bounce back as quickly from that. But then I also think that Kirby and Bobo knew that they could play the kind of game we did and get out of there with a win and lean on the defense a little bit. And I think when Kirby knows that he has that in his back pocket, that he can run the ball, shorten a game, play really good defense, and get out of there with a win, he is not going to press the issue on a night like, they ran Frazier really well, and then they ran McCray a lot. But, you didn't run Bowens at all. You didn't run Bo at all after he just had a 3-touchdown game last week. I think that probably surprised me the most. I'll throw it back over to you, so I'm just not taking every talking point you have. Overall, I'm never going to be upset with beating Georgia Tech. I think it ties the longest win streak in series history with them back in the 40s. 8-1, I think the head ball coach is now against them, something like that.
Yeah, he's put together a nice little streak. He talked about, I guess it was in the post game where there were 2 other opportunities to go to 8 for Georgia in the past, and they both stopped at 7. One of which was the team that he was on. He made a point to mention that. And I think the other one was either in the 60s or 70s. I don't really remember. We got the Stodfather and Dr. J. Will in the comments. Look at that. Anyway, You're right. And then, with a guy like Brent Key, when he comes into the week, really standing on his high horse, talking about, not the week, I'm sorry, coming into his tenure, talking about we will work tirelessly 365 days a year to beat that team in our state. Now he's 0 for 3 in such ventures. But the one thing I will give him is he has closed the gap significantly. It was starting to get into a bad spot. But he's done a good job in that regard. And I think you nailed it when you talked about, and this is my take too, is that when Kirby realizes the game is over, like you are not going to score, you're not going to come back, he shuts it down. And and that was like one of the questions that I put out there, and I was kind of curious to see everybody else's take on it was, did Georgia shut it down or did Georgia Tech shut us down? And I'm more of the belief that Georgia shut it down than I am the other way. And then I do think something that we haven't talked about early is with Drew Bobo going out of the game that early. I think the offense changed a lot. We weren't getting that push that we were getting early in the game. Our running game was effective, but it wasn't as effective without Bobo. Good Lord. Comments are popping off. We don't typically have that. So anyway, I got distracted now.
It's all right. I'll pick up for you.
Go for dose.
Go for dose. Go for a dose. I think it's a combo, right? Like, I think Bobo going out, you're playing a guy that hasn't gotten a lot of burn at center, a guy that, it's such an important role in the offense. And I think that's something that we're so blessed to get lost in the shuffle of. You've had so many good centers year after year after year under Kirby Smart. They're so good at identifying what the offensive line is doing, who they should be sliding to, all those things, that all of a sudden when you pluck somebody that's an all SEC, maybe even borderline All-American caliber talent like Bobo out, and you plug in a redshirt freshman, like Tolliver's still a really good player, but it's just a couple of those minor details that you're less comfortable with all of a sudden, and he's less comfortable with. But I think overall, I'm with you. Part of the offensive struggle was Georgia stopping itself. I think play calling got a little irregular compared to what I would say we normally see. Kind of took some of the chances out of the game. But then also, I just think that you got unlucky from time to time. I think sometimes in passing situations, they dropped 8 and played zone, and I don't think Gunner's the most comfortable, especially after throwing an interception in zone already, when that happens. And then sometimes when you went to run the ball, they were running blitzes, bringing a 7th guy. So, it just is an unfortunate thing. Fortunately, I think you win the game. I think, that's the big thing is you didn't let kind of a weird offensive sputter cost you a football game. You controlled it, and in no point did I ever look at Katie and go, man, we're in trouble tonight. Like, we weren't clicking on all cylinders, but we were coasting in, with a blown transmission just fine.
Exactly right. No, it's one of those things where you're right. Like, we're sitting there watching the game at home as well. And to your point where you never really felt like Georgia Tech was going to take over. Now, I've probably watched an unhealthy amount of Georgia Tech football through the year because they just happen to be on when we're not playing. And then some of the games I was a little bit interested in, so I just kind of tuned in. And, Haynes King is kind of a fun storyline to watch to see how he's progressing. But, everybody wants to point out that Gunner didn't have a great game. And he didn't. I mean, if we're being truthful, he didn't have the best game, right? He threw the interception early. To be fair, we didn't ask him to do a whole lot. But, even the little bit that we did ask him to do, I didn't feel like he was operating at the level that we have seen him. If you're going to put a guy like that into the Heisman Trophy conversation, I don't think, Friday's game would be something that you would want those voters to see. But at the same time, Haynes King didn't have the best game in the world. Now, you could say that, that was probably because our defense played pretty well, and I think that's fair to say. But at the same time, he missed some open guys, had some drop balls, and then also, Georgia, for the first time all year, really didn't get the benefit of calls. And a lot of people have been, going to social media, and obviously you got to pay very small attention to that stuff because that percentage of people can be kind of crazy. But there were plenty of calls that didn't, or I should say non-calls that didn't go Georgia's way. I thought there was some holding, some pushing, some early contact, that could have resulted in first downs and sustained some of the Georgia drives. There just wasn't a whole lot in that second half. I mean, if you watch that game, it really was a tale of two different halves. The first half, I felt like Georgia was in complete control. I mean, they looked really, really good. Second half, it was just sloppy, and it was just get to the finish line. I'm 100% get to the finish line. And then, my biggest takeaway from games all the time is like, hey, let's get the win and get out of the game healthy. We did get the win, but we definitely did not get out of the game healthy. I mean, losing Bobo, in my opinion, is much bigger than anybody's going to give that credit for. I think he is such an integral part of this offense. And, that was one of the biggest concerns that I had coming into the year is, how is he going to perform at the center moving on from the, we just went through two really damn good centers. And Kobe, have we mentioned his name one time on the show all year long in a negative way?
Yeah, no. Like saying, the unspoken hero for sure when they've shuffled around the guards, they've shuffled around the tackles. They've, we got our man with the brittle back. I mean, all the things that have gone on with the offensive line, it just seems like Drew Bobo has been that constant, figure point. Obviously, we'll punt to our man Harrison when he gets here on Wednesday to maybe give us a little bit of a deep dive on what exactly they're hearing about Drew Bobo and what's going on as far as like he could miss a decent amount of time. I know he's in that boot. Not sure if it's a high ankle sprain or if they're worried something maybe torn or broken in there somewhere. But, I think the biggest thing is what will they do with the upcoming week? Do we have anybody that's played this year that could, start the center position? Or is, Tolliver, like he went into that game, but is he your permanent fix when you're playing Alabama, when you're playing into the playoffs? Like, is he the guy you're going to run with, or does Micah Morris have the ability to move over and you run, I think there's a real chance if you could run Juan Gaston at guard, you could move Micah Morris inside. But that would just be a thing if Micah could do it. I think that'll be the biggest question I'll need to see answered this week.
I recalled a different guy going in at center. I think his name was Smith. And I was actually talking to Jonathan Jeremiah about this today when we were all hanging out. Is that they had a different guy playing center, not Tolliver, but Tolliver had to go in this game. I don't know the whole thing. Cortez Smith. Cortez Smith was the guy. I believe he played at Parkview High School. Young guy. And I remember when he went into the game for Bobo. I want to say that was a Texas game, was it not? And he held up pretty well. And like it was one of those things where you kind of hardly missed it. So I wonder, what he's going to get an opportunity to do. And like something Jonathan said when we were talking today is that those guys do a lot of cross training on the front of that line. Now, Kobe, you know it better than anybody. You've been in the room, you've been in those meetings, you've been at those practices. More than anybody that can talk about it in this space, you've been there. You understand how this works. And while Georgia really would hate to lose a guy like Drew Bobo, right? I mean, it's very hard to replace a guy like that. But to say that Georgia's not prepared for something like that would be a complete understatement, because like the one thing that I give this entire staff credit for, not just Kirby. I mean, because obviously Kirby hires the guys and he tells them what he expects. But those guys coach their ass off Monday through Thursday. I mean, and like if you've ever walked by the stadium or walked by the practice field while they're practicing, like I went to a ton of Georgia basketball games last year. And, by the time we're filing into that stadium, they're still practicing. And you can hear just the contact, the comments, everything going on. So those guys practice their butts off. But those coaches do a great job of getting guys prepared to play. And I think that's one of the biggest tips of the hat that I have to give the staff over the course of his tenure here is that, man, they lose a lot of guys due to injury. They lose a lot of guys due to graduation. They lose a lot of guys due to just, the portal, whatever, however you want to say it. This roster really does change from year to year. But in all honesty, the consistency of the level of play for this Georgia football team has been such a high level. And I think that's one of the biggest questions that anybody has had over the years is how long can they sustain this? Well, I think part of the reason that they've been able to sustain it this long is how hard they work Monday through Thursday to get those things right. So, and I'm saying all this to kind of lead into you, Kobe, because you've been at those practices and you can talk to just the level of commitment that those guys have, and then how also they prepare for holes, right?
Yeah, like you're saying, I think the big thing is outside of probably the quarterback position, you may not be as traditionally deep as you once were, where you're just riddled with talent up and down the roster, but you are still in the two deep, as good as anybody in the country, I guess, at some point. And they, like you're saying, that's intentional. They intentionally, when they do roster management, when they try to do retention, when they spend the time with these guys in the spring, when they do summer camp and workouts, like, you have to be prepared for injuries, because kind of like Kirby said, what do you get if you're telling your guys you don't want to play an SEC championship game because you're worried about being injured? He's like, you get a scared football team. He's like, we're not going to be that way. Shout out Jeremiah. Pause. It'll be interesting. I think there's so many options in my head between, like, we saw Tolliver, we've seen Cortez Smith, sneaky pick here. Ernest Green has, I think he would have the ability to move inside, and then you could have Juan at the tackle. It'll be interesting. I'll tell you this: whoever the head ball coach thinks the best five are going to play against Crimson Tide on Saturday. So you rest assured on that. I mean, he's not going to throw somebody out there that's just not ready to go. And I think that's the biggest thing. So it'll be cool. I mean, Gunner, it's going to probably put a little bit more on Gunner as far as, like, being able to make sure that the right calls are getting in and they're blocking the right people in big situations. I think that would be my biggest thing about if you could move somebody over that's been playing all year. You just seeing the live fire at you constantly will keep you from being as confused or as flustered in game compared to somebody that maybe has, like, been at practice, been in the meetings, watched the film, done that, but all of a sudden they're walking up 7 or walking up 8, dropping out. You're having to diagnose it correctly. I'd like somebody that maybe has done that in a live game situation compared to just watching on film. So UGA Sports says, my opinion, your best five: Freeling, Morris, Glover, Gaston, Green. I would agree with that. I would think that you would see that 5 combo in some way on Saturday. But
so which one takes snaps in that situation?
I would think, personally, Morris has been cross-trained the most, but I don't know that. He's been there the longest. He's a 5th year or 6th year senior. I mean, surely at some point he has, like, played the center position for a spring or something. But like you're saying, I don't know. There's no telling, like, I think about guys that have been cross-trained in the past. Jamari Sawyer, when Trey Hill was there. Cade Mays, when they were both there, played some center. I was trying to think who played center a couple of years ago in, like, a weird spot that I did not expect at all.
Ben Cleveland?
And no, Ben's never played centers, but anyways, listen. They're going to get it all figured out. I hate it for Bobo. I really hope maybe we'll have some more news later in the week. I'd really love to see that maybe he's not going to miss the rest of the year. But, I mean, if it's bad, it's bad. Emergency center, Kobe, that would be an easy way to lose on Saturday. That'd be an easy way to lose.
Listen, it's never ideal to get your first snaps against Alabama.
Listen,
Um,
I'm just saying, like, I maybe could pick up one blitz and linebacker, and then you're gonna have to come cart me off the field, old school.
yeah, I mean, we'll get into the Georgia Alabama breakdown on Wednesday when Harrison's back, even though he's loves spamming the shit out of this show right now. But so listen, I guess overall takeaways from Georgia Tech game is it's a rivalry game and it's going to be tight, right? And if you think it's an indication of Georgia's talent level, go look at the other rivalry games. For the most part, listen, Alabama is worlds better than Auburn, but that thing came down to the wire. I mean, like I was enjoying the hell. I don't know about you. I just enjoy college football. I love watching college football, and I'll if it's a good game, I'll watch it. Go
And I
ahead.
think it had an extra, well, for me and for us, I think it has that little bit of extra flair with it being Ashton Daniels. Like, to
Yes, of
me,
course.
that gave it, like, just that little bit extra juice because he is famous. Like, they were talking about on the broadcast. He has had those heroics at Stanford where he has, like, come in games and beaten teams that really they've had no business beating. And it kind of felt like that same vibe. And it felt like his supporting staff just really kind of let him down with a lot of fumbles, a lot of loose ball control, and a couple drops along the way.
Listen, Ashton Daniels had a split time, and I can say this, and this is Dan Collins speaking. This is anybody else, okay? So don't go after anybody
This is
else.
not the opinions of the Top Dog Talk
Yeah,
podcast and its supporters.
he had a split time with a kid I don't think he should have had a split time with, and I am not going to say like the kid's name. That's not right. But there were several times in the playoffs, specifically the state championship game, where he wasn't playing every single snap, and they fell behind because he wasn't playing every single snap, and he brought them back. So you want to talk about heroics? This kid has been doing it since he was 16, 17 years old, winning state championships over at Buford, having to go into a game down and having to make heroic plays after heroic plays. That, like, sometimes there's not a way to measure when a kid has that. It's that it, right? We always talk about the it. Everybody talks about the it, but nobody can define it, but you know it when you see it. And Ashton Daniels has that. And that's one of those things where I think Auburn really screwed the pooch by not playing that kid more this year. I understand Jackson Arnold is pretty, he's the shiny toy, and you're going to pay him a lot of money, but some people are just better ball players, and like you can't measure it. It's one of those things where when the kid goes in and he starts winning football games, you're like, damn it, how's he doing all that? Like, this other kid looks way better. Like, the other kid's shinier. He's a prettier toy. But, like, this kid just wins football games. Ashton just wins football. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, but you're absolutely right. And that was definitely a factor. My wife does not watch football games, and she sat there and watched that entire football game because Ashton was playing, and she wanted him to do well. It's really awesome when you watch a game and somebody is out there doing great. And he did. He played really, really great. But then let's also talk about a little bit about the Michigan Ohio State game, the game. It started out nice and cold, clean field, a little bit of snow flurry here and there. By the end of the game, that field was completely covered, and Ohio State covered the spread and did some work to put that game away. Is it the first in 4? Is that right? The first win in 4 games for them, or is it 3? Yeah, whatever. 2,100.
They had lost 4 in a row.
Yeah.
So the first in 5, right?
Oh boy. It was like 2,000 and some odd days or whatever since the last time they won. That defense is scary good, bro.
Yeah, they suffocated them. I mean, it's just hard. You have to play. I would say that's what was so amazing about them beating them last year is like you just have to play so well on both sides of the ball to be competitive in that game. The dual-headed monster they have at wide receiver is just hard to beat. And they got a quarterback that can deliver the ball on time properly to those guys consistently. That's just tough because they can also run the ball, and they play pretty good suffocating defense. They're going to stop the run. They're going to be kind of stingy in the pass game. And Michigan they weren't built for it this year. I think they've been built for it in the past. They've been big and physical and been able to run the ball at will and play really sticky defense. And that's just since Harbaugh's left, since Moore's been there, since they haven't been cheating, they're just not as good. Like when they don't know what's coming, it's just a little bit harder to play defense. Sue me.
No, hey, you're 100% right. And then like Bryce Underwood to me really looked like, and this is just my opinion, but it really looked like he was affected by the cold. I don't think he was really excited about playing in that weather. And that's one of the things that I wonder about sometimes when a lot of these kids are taking the opportunity to go up north, right? There's a lot of these kids down here in Georgia that are looking at opportunities at Michigan and going up to Ohio State. I mean, Caleb Downs obviously is up there doing great things, but they invite you up there in September, when it's nice and it may be a little bit cool, but it's nice. And then they don't really want you up on campus when it's late November and there's like 4 feet of snow on the ground. Because it got cold quick. You can see it in Ryan Day's face too. Like his gray beard was about white by the end of the day, and it just got really cold really fast. And if you're not built for that kind of cold, it can sneak up on you really, really quick. So I wonder about that sometimes. And like I said, I don't think Bryce really handled that extremely well. But you got to give credit to Julian Sayin because, I mean, when it's cold like that, Kobe, I don't know how cold you've ever played in, but if you've played in a really, really cold game, the first thing that goes is your fingertips. And when your fingers go, it's like the rest of your body just goes along with it. But you're trying to grip a football and throw a football with frozen fingertips. Man, that is incredibly difficult, especially if that hand gets wet with snow on the ground. You got to imagine it's going to get wet because he got knocked down. That's incredibly hard to do. So I give them a lot of credit. Ohio State gets the W, retains the number one spot in the poll. I mean, obviously the poll's not out yet, but I think we're safe to say that's going to happen. Indiana, they had a bye week, right? No,
they
Purdue?
might as well. They played Purdue 56-3.
Oh, yeah, Purdue. Yeah. So one and two is going to be the same. Let's talk about number 3. Okay. The game between Texas A&M and Texas. That is a game that, a lot of Georgia fans wanted Texas A&M to win because they didn't want to play in this game coming up on Saturday. Now, listen, the head ball coach, he wants to play in that game on Saturday. But Texas goes into Texas A&M, or the game was at Texas Tech, right? Yeah, it's at Texas. Sorry. Gets the job done. I mean, not probably. Best game Texas played all year long. Kobe, overstatement?
Best second half. I mean, okay. I think Texas, like, I went to bed. It was 10-3 at halftime. It had been like a weird game. Marshall Reed had rolled an ankle. They had, had a field goal blocked. Like some things had just kind of been funky. And then had to be up early, went goose hunting the next morning, so I didn't get to see the second half, but have gone back and watched it. And it just feels like Texas squeezed them because they've been there before. They've been in that big situation, and they kind of applied that pressure. And when they squeezed, Texas A&M popped a little bit, kind of like we saw with South Carolina, where all of a sudden, you come out from halftime, and Texas scores 10, takes the lead, and then, Texas scores again and is up 20. So it went from 3-10 to 20-10. And all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, what's kind of going on? Texas A&M has a big answer, makes it back to a 3-point game. Defense has to step up. And I think that's the biggest thing that Texas A&M has hung their hat on all year is they've been able to affect the quarterback. They've really been really, really good on third down. And when they needed them, 2017 game, I just really need them to hold them to a field goal. Don't let them score. Let's get the ball back with a chance. 4 plays. Texas goes up by 10. Texas A&M doesn't score again. So, like you're saying, are you better or worse off if you're Texas A&M and you lost that game? You're probably getting a home playoff game if I had to bet. I would imagine you see them fall around the 7 range, 7 to 8 range on Tuesday. I would think Texas A&M still probably getting to host one, and get a week off.
Their first loss?
First loss, 11-1.
Yeah, so I wonder where's the first 2-loss team? Isn't it 5?
So
4
or no? Where is the first 2-loss team?
Yeah, because Georgia's going to move up to number 3.
Yeah, and then the next team after them probably be Texas Tech or Oregon, probably Oregon. So Oregon at 4.
Both 1-loss teams, right?
Yeah, Texas Tech will be a 1-loss team as well. After that,
So
like you're
6.
saying, Alabama, like maybe Texas Tech or Texas A&M after Texas Tech, so like 6 or 7, right in that range.
Yeah, I think Texas A&M falls from
Ole Miss could be in that range. I forgot about Ole Miss. Sorry,
one
Lane
loss.
Kiffin, one loss, but it'll be interesting. That's going to be the very next talking point.
Yep.
Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin has officially divorced Ole Miss, headed to LSU, be the next coach down in Baton Rouge for the LSU Tigers. If you haven't seen it, you haven't been on social media, you haven't been on ESPN, it has been messy at best. Lane Kiffin has really wanted to have his cake and eat it too, and take the head coaching job at LSU, but also retain his head coaching position at Ole Miss through the remainder of the season. I think Ole Miss has made it abundantly clear that you either, you can't do both at some point. You can't be out there actively recruiting and signing people as the head coach at LSU and be in the building for 6 more weeks as the head coach at Ole Miss at the same time. I think it's been kind of ugly. I think that Lane's been very much a lot more old Lane than I thought he was going to be. I think a lot of people thought that the guy that left Tennessee in the middle of the night, the guy that got fired at Alabama for being a distraction, I think a lot of people thought that, hot yoga, golden retriever, Ole Miss Lane is a new man. And I don't know about you, Dan, but nothing about the way this has gone has told me that this is a mature, appropriate decision. To me, he could have put it to rest a long time ago that he was staying at Ole Miss. But to me, he's wanted to do both, and there's just not room for that in the world of college football now. With the portal, with NIL, with it being a head coach to head coach position, with it being within the SEC. I mean, all of those things just tell me that he was way outside of his boundary of thinking that was ever going to happen.
So, here's who I blame. I blame college football. I blame the clock because Harrison doesn't like swear words. I caught myself. It's messed up, severely messed up. Your signing day is in the middle of the season. Like what? I mean, it's not in the middle of the season, but during the season. Like what in the hell are we doing? Signing day is Wednesday, right? You got guys still coaching. You got guys, obviously there's some teams that just finished their season on Friday and Saturday. Like their season's over. So they got 3 days or whatever. Like do it like the NFL. Like you can't take another job until the season's over. And then your free agency and all that stuff doesn't start until the season's over. So National Signing Day should be, and I understand why they do it because a lot of these kids want to get in there for second semester. It's just really messed up. And I don't know, Nick Saban, I think, should be the next commissioner of college football because I've heard him talk about this. He is extremely intelligent and well-spoken. And listen, he's gone through it. He understands how it works. But he's like, there has to be a different clock, a different timetable. Like you can't sign your players until after the season's over. Like, I'm sorry. Like that's just how it's going to be. You may miss out on spring training or spring practice or whatever, but you can't be signing your players in the middle of the season. You can't have a coach leaving their team and, with games left to play because that's what the clock dictates, right? It's LSU has to have another coach right now. Like this would be a completely different story. Everything would have played out completely different if he wasn't allowed to even talk or take another job until January, after the college football playoff is concluded. All of this could be avoided. All of it could be avoided. It's completely stupid. The lack of foresight by the people who run the NCAA it's by far, other than GHSA, the worst run organization in the United States of America. I mean, it is absolutely horseshit how they run it. And I mean, the clock makes no sense. They put these coaches in no-win situations. They put the players in no-win situations. You got guys on teams that are going to go to the playoffs. They're like, hey, I'm going to the portal as soon as it opens up. Like, I mean, how is that healthy and good for anybody? I mean, Georgia is going to the SEC championship game. They're going to play. Daniel Harris is like, hey, I'm going to the portal. Like, why couldn't that have waited till after January?
Like you're saying, because it can't. I mean, he has to put his name out there to have the full window of opportunity for teams to speak to him. And I think, like you're saying, it's no different Penn State last year and Bo Perbula. I mean, he is a guy that got some burn as a second string for Penn State a lot last year. He's a really, really good player. And he has to leave the team in the middle of what is one of the best runs in school history in recent memory because he wants to start somewhere next year. And it's tough. I mean, that is horrible when you think about. And I feel bad. I mean, who I really feel bad for? The players, the guys that have given years of their lives training in middle school, high school, committing to a coach in college, done seasons of practices, spring practices, summer workouts, winter drills, winter conditioning, the whole season of playing, all of the things that Lane has fed into that team to look them in the eye in November after going 11-1, the best regular season in school history, and going, fellas, you're going to have to do the rest without me, is just insane. And I think that I would not be surprised at all if, I don't know, like you're saying, it would not surprise me if a precedent is set that Ole Miss is punished for this. I mean, if Florida State can be punished for losing Jordan Travis, being undefeated and losing Jordan Travis, I'm not sure that Ole Miss can't kind of be in the same boat without Lane Kiffin there. I hope not. I hope not for the players at Ole Miss. They went 11-1. They deserve every right to be in this playoffs and be a top seed, a top 5 seed or so. I guess top 8 seed to host, but it's terrible. I don't know a good. There's no easy answer because, like you're saying, if you make signing day in the spring, then you take a whole semester and all of spring practice away from signees. If you make the portal open in the spring, you take a whole semester and spring practice window away from any portal player. Like, the reason it used to not matter is because you had to take a year off anyways. I don't know. I don't know. Do you walk the season? Do you walk the season back?
Yes. All right. So that's what Saban said, and I agree with, right? So the high school season is in round 3 of the playoffs, right? So the regular season for high school has been over since 3 weeks. I mean, by the time Georgia plays its first game of the season, high school teams are already playing their 4th or 5th game. So walk the season back, start it earlier, finish everything, but it's all about that TV dollar. They want to stretch it into January. They want to stretch it out to get that money, in January. Because you talk about if the college football product ends in December, right, before the second semester starts, which would alleviate all of your problems in the world. How marketable is that January schedule for college basketball? It's horseshit.
Yeah.
It's so, I mean, like, you don't have it. So that it all comes back to the TV dollar. That's where all of this comes from. But walk the season back. Start in August. You play the month of August. I mean, that's a whole month early. You're talking about 4 weeks. And now you don't have this problem. You don't need 3 weeks between bowl games. You don't need 4 weeks between like, that's Georgia. Imagine the scenario where they weren't playing on Saturday. They would, well, hell, they're playing on Saturday. If they win, they don't play for another 3 weeks. There's no reason for that. Just play the damn games. Get it over with. And then that way you don't have college coaches leaving in the middle of the season. You don't have players like Bo having to say, hey guys, this has been awesome. I appreciate it. I gotta head out. See you guys. Good luck.
Yeah, I'm gonna be at Missouri by the time y'all beat Boise State for a home playoff game.
Yeah.
Like, I have poured so much into this, and I'm gonna get to enjoy none of it with you. Like Sam,
it's an easy fix. They just don't do it because they're dumb. Like, and the TV is so greedy now. It's like, how much money do you really need to make?
I agree.
I mean,
it's tough. I mean, it's the same way. It's the same way with all the Group of 5 schools, though. I saw that all 3 Group of 5 schools that are eligible for that 12 seed right now, all 3 of them, their head coaches have already taken new jobs.
Yep. The Tulane's coach gone. I mean, like, it's so done. It's so bad, Kobe.
I'll be interested to see if all of them get to finish the season, though. Like, if Tulane's coach will get to finish, because, like, they played North Texas Conference Championship. I'd imagine the winner of that game goes.
Dude, he's got signing day on Wednesday. He's got to go to Auburn.
Florida.
I mean, you're gonna punt on a recruiting class?
Florida likes punting on recruiting classes, so I mean,
it doesn't hurt my feelings. Anyway, yeah, I think I got maybe a little bit heated on that. I don't know. I just thought. I mean,
It's just tough, though. I mean, to me, it takes away so much of what is so great about the sport and what's so great about the extended playoffs is like you get to enjoy these teams like a North Texas team that is making a hell of a run, a hell of a year, and all of a sudden it's going to be shrouded by, oh, we don't have a coach anymore, and now we're
they don't have a
running.
quarterback.
I didn't hear about that. North Texas quarterback hit the portal.
Yeah, he's the number one quarterback in the country right now for the portal. So as
Nice.
soon as that portal opens up, guess who's gone?
Probably him.
It's already out there that he's going to go to the portal.
Yeah.
So he can't, like you talking about the kid from Penn State, he can't stay and play.
Yeah.
He's got to go. So
Just
North
tough.
Texas just lost their number one quarterback. I mean, listen, that guy's good enough to play for half the teams in the country right now in Division I. I mean, easily.
Yeah.
And now you're going to take that kid off of a team because of your stupid clock that doesn't make any damn sense. But I don't understand. Like the most successfully run organization in professional sports organization by far is the NFL. I mean, it is run like a well-oiled machine. Their clocks work, their times work, their OTAs, everything works perfectly. The NBA, not the best. It's kind of got. I mean, they can't figure out what the hell they want to do. They have fucking mid-season tournaments now and shit. I mean, it makes no sense. Major League Baseball runs pretty well, although they're starting to get way deeper into the winter, and it's starting to affect the product where these guys are trying to throw baseballs with frozen hands. Again, greed taking over. So I think if you just look at all the organizations, all the different sports organizations, the NFL has it perfect. Well, college football, there's no reason why. I mean, NFL's made changes, right? Make changes too. Like work it out. NFL eliminated some of these weak gaps, right? Like where teams aren't playing. Like it's an easy fix. Nick Saban gave a great lecture on it. Last week or was it 2 weeks ago? And he got pretty heated too, just like I did. He got pretty heated about like some things just aren't that complicated, Kobe, but we just want to make everything so damn complicated. And really what it always comes back to is people in position of power are just greedy as hell and they just want more money. They're just they're not worried about you. They're not worried about me. They sure as hell ain't worried about those kids. They're worried about the money. And this is so easily solvable. And the reason I get passionate about it, and I know you do too, is because it's hurting a product that we both love. I mean, that's why we do this podcast is because we love college football. I mean, we don't get paid money. We just come out here to give opinions and talk a little bit about some ball. And it's because we love it. And when you do something to hurt a product that we love, it's easy to get passionate about.
Well, I think especially when it hits close to home as far as like, the North Texas coach, Tulane coach, like coaches getting cherry picked off of rosters like that happen all the time. They tend to have a way to kind of make it work through the season late in the year. It's completely different when you're talking about that barring a flat fourth quarter, Ole Miss could be 12-0 playing in the SEC championship this week and probably be the number 3 at worst. I mean, at worst, the number 3 team in the country. And their head coach just left.
That's crazy.
Like, it already is crazy. I mean, they're top 8 programming, and it just is all just so. It's so hard. Like, what's at LSU that's not at Ole Miss? Is it the money? Is it just a change of pace? Is it wanting to maybe try to win a national championship and you think you have a better chance at LSU? The resources are better. The commitment's better. But, man, it just – it just makes it hard to think. It's like the SEC short skit. You love Lane when you got Lane, but when you see Lane leave, it's always a messy breakup. It's never a fun, hey, this could be Ole Miss. This could be the greatest football coach Ole Miss has ever had in the history of Ole Miss football. And now you're just going to hate him because of not what he did for you. Yeah. I mean, it'd be like if all of a sudden Kirby left in the middle of the night and was like, I'm headed to Florida. And I'm taking the whole staff with me.
Oh, and I got one for you. According to an Ole Miss site that's been reporting on all this stuff, apparently Trinidad Chambliss is going to LSU too.
Oh, that does not surprise me at all.
So
I knew they were a package deal.
So now you're talking about Ole Miss is going to have to play his first round football game without its quarterback?
If he hits the portal before they play,
he has to, right?
I don't know. They won't make it. Well, he could always transfer and be there in the summer. It just depends on LSU's schedule. But they will. If he's gone, they'll get left out. If you lose him and Lane, they'll be the 13th team.
Just drop them, just for no reason. Just be like, oh, you were 7 this week.
I mean, what?
Now you're 13. They did it at Florida State. You're right.
I mean, what do they bring to the table all of a sudden? You lose a guy that's probably should finish top 4 in the Heisman voting, and one of the best offensive-minded coaches in the country,
and the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, you go run out there. Yeah, it's a mess. It sucks. It sucks. It sucks. Mess.
Well, is there any other games you want to talk about? Because I think we've hit them.
Nope. The Bears, number 1 team in the NFC right now, as of right now today. Stop the votes. Hang the banner.
Put the November 30th NFL champions. I thought maybe we'd see the white jacket tonight.
I can't wait until they just find a way to mess it up, which I say that, and then they kind of pounded the Eagles this week, which was quite the surprise. But
listen, you got the coach I wanted. That's the one, Hunter. I was yelling for the mountaintops. That's Harrison's guy too. Harrison turned me on to that guy. Ben Johnson did such a great job. Yeah. And now he's doing a great job with Caleb. Come to find out, it just means Caleb Williams needed a good coach. Who knew? Who knew that was a big deal?
And then, like against the Eagles, I mean, I don't know if you watched the game at all. They had 2 running backs running the ball for 125 yards apiece and a touchdown apiece. You don't really have to do a lot if you're Caleb Williams. If you're running the ball for 250 on the ground.
So 231 yards between the tackles was a modern day record for the Chicago Bears. Yeah. That's insane. Against the Eagles, who have 2 behemoths up front that we're all very familiar with.
Correct.
That's insane. That's insane.
That's all I think for tonight. It's a weird week. Championship, Bama, Georgia, again, part 10, 11. I lose count.
Part 1 million.
I think the biggest game I'm looking forward to this week, Duke versus Virginia. If Duke wins, the ACC gets left out. I probably will slide a little cashish on the Blue Devils just in case things get funny.
That would be wild.
I would enjoy that. That would bring a smile to my face.
Well, listen, we appreciate you guys jumping on with us Sunday night, wrapping up the show. I'm sorry we didn't do a whole lot on the Georgia Tech game, but there really wasn't a whole hell of a lot to talk about. But the Dogs did get the win. Rivalry week, it's always great to beat the Nerds. They can go back to telling us how we all suck at life and they're just going to be better at life than we are. That's what they do. They can't talk about football, so they got to talk about that. And then we have the Evil Empire on Saturday. So we will be here Wednesday night, 7:30. Please be sure to jump in. Harrison will be back. He was traveling today, so that's why he wasn't on the show today. But he'll be back Wednesday, 7:30, and we'll have a loaded show for you ready to roll. But as always, thank you very much for joining in. And